quiet outlaw gave shelter to a girl with burned feet. The ring she carried was his mother's. The ring's return. The stranger in the desert. The Arizona sun was dying again, bleeding crimson across the endless expanse of sand and stone. Colt Ramirez sat on the weathered porch of his ranch house, a cup of bitter coffee growing cold in his hands. This was his ritual, watching the day surrender to night, counting the shadows as they stretched like dark fingers across the valley below Devil's Canyon. 30 years. That's how long he'd been running, though for the last 5, he'd finally stopped. This ranch, hidden in a box canyon where even the Apache rarely ventured, had become his purgatory. Purgatory was a place where a man could vanish without losing consciousness. The black stallion in the corral chuckled softly, his ears perking forward. Colt's hand moved instinctively to the Colt. He held a .45 on his hip, the firearm that earned him his moniker during the violent days he spent riding with the Copper Creek Gang. His real name was Miguel, but that boy had died with his parents in a Comanchero raid 3 decades ago. He saw the dust cloud first, barely visible in the dying light. Someone was coming up the old trail, the one that wound through the maze of arroyos and false canyons that protected his solitude. Colt stood slowly, joints protesting. At 47, he felt ancient, though he knew men who'd lived softer lives and died younger. The figure emerged from the heat mirages like a ghost. Too small for a man, moving wrong for someone on horseback. Walking. Colt squinted, unable to believe what his eyes were telling him. A child. A girl, from the look of the tattered dress. She stumbled, caught herself, and kept coming. Even from this distance, he could see the determination in her movements, the kind that comes when stopping means dying. He'd seen it before, in wounded men crawling across battlefields, in hunted animals making one last run for freedom. Colt vaulted over the porch rail, his boots hitting the packed earth hard. The girl was maybe 100 yards away now, weaving like a drunk. Her feet, Christ almighty, she was barefoot, on ground that could fry an egg at midday and was still hot enough to burn even now. She saw him coming and tried to run, but her legs gave out. She went down hard, raising a small cloud of dust. By the time Colt reached her, she was trying to crawl, her fingers clawing at the earth. Easy there, little one, easy. He kept his voice low, the same tone he used with spooked horses. Not going to hurt you. The girl's eyes rolled back, showing white. But even as consciousness fled, her right hand remained clenched in a tight fist. Colt scooped her up, shocked at how little she weighed. Couldn't be more than 10, maybe 11 years old. Her feet were a horror, burned, bleeding, with cactus thorns embedded deep. He carried her inside, kicking the door open with his boot. The cabin was one simple, large room with a stone fireplace, a bed in the corner, and a table with 2 chairs that had never hosted a guest. He laid her on the bed and lit the oil lamps, their golden light revealing more details he wished he hadn't seen. Bruises on her arms, old and new. A cut on her cheek that looked like it came from a ring. He'd seen enough bar fights to recognize the mark. Her dress wasn't just tattered. It had been torn deliberately. Someone had hurt this child, and recently. Colt fetched water from the ceramic jug and clean cloths from the shelf where he kept his few linens. He'd patched up plenty of men in his outlaw days, but his hands shook slightly as he began cleaning her wounds. It was different with a child. Everything was different with a child. He worked methodically, picking out thorns with tweezers and cleaning the burns with cool water. She whimpered in her sleep but didn't wake. That worried him. Exhaustion that deep meant she'd been running for days. The knock at the door made him spin, gun drawn before the sound finished echoing. Nobody knocked at Colt Ramirez's door. Nobody knew where to find it. Easy there, Colt. It's Doc Holliday. Colt didn't lower the gun. Doc in Tombstone, dying of consumption. Well, I got better. Whiskey's a miracle cure. A rasping cough followed. "Come on, you suspicious bastard. You think I rode all the way out here to perforate your hide? I'm here about the girl." Colt crept to the window and peered out. Sure enough, there was Doc Holliday, looking like death warmed over, but very much alive. His horse was lathered with sweat. "How'd you know about her?" "Saw her 2 days ago in Benson. She was running from some men's slave traders heading for Mexico. I tried to help, but she spooked and ran into the desert." Doc coughed again. "I've been tracking her since. The trail led here." Colt opened the door, keeping his gun ready. Doc walked in, his gambler's suit dusty and travel-worn. He went straight to the bed, examining the girl with surprising gentleness. "She'll live," he pronounced, "but those feet need proper tending. Got any whiskey? For her or you? Both, ideally." Doc's smile was a death-as-head grin. "She's going to need it when she wakes up. Those burns are going to hurt like hell." They worked together in silence, Doc's skilled hands mixing a poultice from Colt's meager medical supplies. As they worked, the gambler talked. The men hunting her, their bad news. Martinez gang out of Sonora. They buy and sell anything, but children bring the best prices in certain markets. His pale eyes met Colt's. "They'll come looking. Let them come. There are 6 of them, Colt. Maybe 7. I've faced worse odds." Doc finished, wrapping the girl's feet. "Yes, you have. The question is, why? What's one more orphan to the great Colt Ramirez?" Colt didn't answer. He was watching the girl's clenched fist, wondering what she held so tight that not even unconsciousness could loosen her grip. As if reading his mind, Doc said, "Whatever she's carrying, it must be important. She wouldn't let go even when I tried to help her in Benson." They sat vigil through the night, 2 killers watching over a broken child. Doc told stories of Tombstone, of the Earps and the Cowboys, and of the coming war that would tear the town apart. Colt listened with half an ear, his attention on every sound from outside. The desert was full of noises, coyotes, owls, wind through the canyons. But he knew them all. If the Martinez gang came, he'd hear them long before they arrived. Dawn was painting the eastern sky purple when the girl stirred. Her eyes opened slowly, dark and full of pain. She tried to sit up, gasped at the agony in her feet, and fell back. "Easy," Colt said. "You're safe." Her eyes darted between him and Doc, wild with fear. Then, surprisingly, she spoke. Her voice was hoarse but clear. "You're him. The quiet one. The one who remembers. Who told you that?" Instead of answering, she looked at her clenched fist, as if surprised to find it still closed. Slowly, painfully, she opened her fingers. The morning light caught the silver and made the 3 turquoise stones glow like bits of sky. Colt's world began to tilt, spin, and threaten to shatter. Colt found his mother's ring. "Where?" His voice broke. He tried again. "Where did you get this?" "Rosa," the girl whispered. "Rosa Morales. She said to find you. Said you would understand." The name hit him like a physical blow. Rosa Morales. He had spared Rosa Morales 15 years ago, defying every rule of the outlaw code. The Comanchero leader's woman, crying over a dead child while her world burned around her. Doc whistled low. "Well, I'll be damned. Looks like your past just caught up with you, Colt. The question is, what are you going to do about it?" The story of Rosa Morales. Maria Santos was the girl's name, and over the next 3 days, her story unfolded in fragments, alternating between fevered dreams and moments of startling clarity. Doc Holliday stayed, surprising Colt with his patience and gentleness. Perhaps impending death softened even the hardest men. "My family had a small ranch near Agua Prieta," Maria told them on the second evening, her voice stronger now. "Papa raised horses. Mama grew the best chilies in Sonora. I had two brothers, Miguel and Carlos. She paused, her young face etched with grief that belonged on someone much older. Colt recognized that look. He'd worn it himself at her age. The Martinez gang came at dawn. They wanted our horses, but Papa tried to fight. She closed her eyes. They killed them all. The victims were Mama, Papa, and my brothers. I was forced to observe. Doc poured her water from the pitcher, his hands steady despite the tremor that occasionally took them. How did you escape? I didn't. They took me to Hermosillo to be sold. That's where Rosa found me. At the mention of a name, Colt leaned forward. Tell me about Rosa. Maria fingered the ring, now hanging on a leather cord around her neck. Colt couldn't bear to take it from her. Not yet. She was old, maybe 60 winters. Her arms and face were adorned with scars. She worked in the mission, helping the sisters care for orphans. The mission? The mission is located in San Miguel del Desierto. It's small and hidden. The sisters take in children no one else wants. Indian children, mestizos, and orphans from the wars. Maria's eyes found Colt's. Rosa saw me in the slave market. Something about me. She said I reminded her of someone. She used all her savings to buy my freedom. Colt stood abruptly and walked to the window. The desert stretched endlessly, but he wasn't seeing it. He was seeing another time and a different place. A burning ranch. As they drove off horses and cattle, the Comancheros whooped with joy. The screams of his mother filled the air. Tell him the rest, Doc prompted gently. She was dying, Maria continued. The sisters identified her condition as consumption. But before she got too sick, she told me stories. She told me a story about a young outlaw who, despite the odds, showed mercy. About a ring taken in a raid long ago and the debt that came with it. Colt's hands gripped the window frame hard enough to leave marks. What else did she say? She said she'd been at your family's ranch that day. She was young then, newly married to the Comanchero leader. She tried to stop them from killing your mother. But Maria's voice trailed off. She took the ring to remember. She reminded herself that there were still good people in times of evil. What happened to her 15 years ago? Colt's voice was rough. You spared her life. The raid had just claimed the life of her own son, slain in the crossfire. She was ready to die, wanted to die. But you let her go. Maria shifted on the bed, wincing at the pain in her feet. She said that act of mercy saved her. It gave her hope that she could transcend the limitations of her life. She left the Comancheros and found her way to the mission. Doc lit a cigar, the smoke curling in the lamplight. Did she save the girl to repay a debt? No, Maria said firmly. She saved me because it was right. But she gave me the ring and told me where to find you because, as she said, every child needs someone who remembers how to be kind. Colt turned from the window. In the lamplight, Maria looked even younger than her 10 years, but her eyes held steel beneath the pain. The Martinez gang, he said. They're coming for you. I know. I won't let them take you. I know that too. She touched the ring again. Rosa said you keep your word. She extended her promise even to those who don't merit it. Doc stood, stretching his thin frame. Well, this is all very touching, but we need to prepare. Martinez doesn't give up easily, and he's got enough men to make the situation interesting. Colt raised an eyebrow. Oh, didn't I mention? I'm dying of consumption, remember? Might as well go out doing something worthwhile. Doc's smile was piercing. Besides, I've always wanted to see the outstanding Colt Ramirez in action. Stories say you're faster than me. Stories lie. We'll see. They spent the next day preparing. Colt had chosen his ranch well. The approach was a narrow canyon with high walls, perfect for defense. He and Doc set up positions, checked weapons, and laid out ammunition. Maria watched from the porch, her feet still too damaged to walk. "I can shoot," she offered at one point. "Papa taught me." "No." Colt's voice brooked no argument. "You've seen enough killing." But he showed her the root cellar, hidden beneath a false floor. "If things go wrong, you get in here and don't come out. It doesn't matter what you hear." Night fell like a curtain. Doc took a position in the rocks above the canyon entrance. Colt waited on the porch, rifle across his knees. Maria was inside, theoretically sleeping, but probably wide awake. They came at midnight. The 7 riders proceeded cautiously and slowly. Colt recognized Martinez in the lead, a big man with a silver-studded saddle and a reputation for cruelty that made even hardened outlaws nervous. They stopped just outside rifle range. Martinez's voice carried clearly in the still air. "Colt Ramirez, I know you have the girl. She's valuable property legally purchased. Return her and we ride away. We'll burn you out if you keep her." Colt stood and stepped to the edge of the porch where they could see him clearly. "The girl stays. She's worth $2,000 American dollars to certain buyers in Mexico City. I'll give you half. The girl stays." Martinez laughed. "You're one man, Ramirez. Bullets will not deter your reputation." A shot cracked from the rocks above. Martinez's hat flew off his head. Doc's voice drifted down, cultured and mocking. "Actually, he's got help. And before you boys get any ideas, I'm Doc Holliday. Yes, it's the same Doc Holliday. And I haven't killed anyone in almost a week, so I'm feeling particularly mean." The riders shifted nervously. Doc Holliday's reputation was, if anything, worse than Colt's. Martinez wasn't impressed. The odds were 7-2. "I like those odds." Colt said, "Then you must be bad at math. Here's the only deal you're getting. Ride away now, and you live. Stay, and I'll send you to help personally." Big talk 4. Colt drew and fired in one motion. Martinez's gun, half drawn, spun from his hand. The Mexican clutched his bleeding fingers, cursing. "That's your only warning," Colt said. "The next one goes through your heart." For a brief moment, the night hovered precariously. Then one of Martinez's men broke, wheeling his horse around. "I didn't sign up to face Ramirez and Holliday. Not for no slave girl." The defection started an avalanche. Within moments, 5 of the 7 were riding hard back down the canyon. Only Martinez and one loyal fool remained. "This battle isn't over," Martinez snarled. "Yes," Colt said quietly, "it is." Something in his voice must have finally penetrated Martinez's rage. The big Mexican looked at Colt, at the rifle steady in his hands, and at the darkness where Doc waited like a coiled snake. Then he spat in the dust and rode away. Doc climbed down from the rocks, coughing hard. There was blood on his handkerchief when he pulled it from his lips. "Well," he said, "that was almost disappointing. I was hoping for more excitement. I'm sorry to let you down." They watched until the riders' dust faded into the night. Then Colt went inside to find Maria standing by the window, a kitchen knife clutched in her small hands. "I told you to hide. Rosa said you were brave. I wanted to be brave too." Colt gently took the knife from her and set it on the table. Being brave doesn't mean looking for fights. Sometimes it means knowing when not to fight. "Is that why you let them go?" He considered the question. "I let them go because killing them wouldn't change anything. Martinez will find other children to sell. Those men will find other ways to be evil. But you," he touched the ring at her throat, "you're here now, safe. That's what matters. The choice of mercy." Doc Holliday left at dawn, but not before a private conversation with Colt by the corral. "She can't stay here," Doc said, his pale eyes serious. "Martinez won't come back, but others might. Word spreads. The great Colt Ramirez has gone soft, protecting a Mexican orphan. Every young gun looking to make a reputation will come calling. I know. So what's your plan? Colt watched Maria through the window. She was attempting to walk, stubborn despite the pain. I've been running my whole life, document, since I was younger than her. Maybe it's time to stop. That's not an answer. Judge Morrison in Tombstone. He's a good man and owes me a favor from the old days. He can make it legal, adoption papers, the whole thing. After that, Colt shrugged. I've got money saved. Enough to start over somewhere they don't know my name. Doc studied him for a long moment. You know what you're giving up? The freedom, the reputation, the fear that keeps men honest around you? I buried a boy named Miguel when I was 7 years old, Colt said quietly. I've been carrying his ghost ever since. Maybe saving this girl is how I finally let him rest. Doc extended his hand. They shook, two killers acknowledging something neither fully understood. For what it's worth, Doc said as he mounted his horse, I think your mother would be proud. Then he was gone, riding toward Tombstone and his own appointment with destiny. The journey to Tombstone took 3 days. Colt drove the wagon carefully, mindful of Maria's still healing feet. She sat beside him on the bench, full of questions about everything they passed the saguaro cacti, the distant mountains, and the hawks circling overhead. Did you always live out here? She asked as they camped the first night. No, I was born in California. My parents came from Mexico looking for gold. He poked the fire with a stick, sending sparks into the darkness. They found land instead, good land for cattle. What happened to them? He'd never told this story, not completely. But something about the darkness, the child's patient attention, made the words come. Comancheros, raiders who sold guns to the Indians, stole cattle, and took prisoners to sell in Mexico. He paused, gathering himself. I was 7. They came at dawn, just like with your family. My father fought. They killed him slowly. My mother, she hid me in the root cellar, told me not to come out no matter what. Maria's small hand found his. But you did. Not until they were gone. I was a coward. You were 7. I found her in the yard. She'd fought them. That's when I knew her ring was gone. She never took it off, but her finger was bare. He looked at the ring, glinting at Maria's throat. I buried them myself. Took 3 days. Then I started walking. Where did you go? Anywhere. Everywhere. Worked cattle drives, learned to shoot, and learned to survive. By 15, I was riding with outlaws. By 20, I was leading them. He met her eyes across the fire. I became everything my mother would have hated. But you saved Rosa. And now me. 2 good deeds don't erase a lifetime of bad ones. Maria was quiet for a while. Then Rosa used to say that we are not what we've done, but what we choose to do next. The second day brought them through mining country. They stopped in Benson for supplies, where Colt noticed how people looked at Maria some with sympathy, others with a calculating gaze he recognized too well. He kept her close, his hand never far from his gun. In the general store, while buying her new boots and clothes, the shopkeeper's wife clucked sympathetically. Poor little thing. Mexican, isn't she? There's an orphanage in Tucson that takes their kind. She's mine, Colt said quietly. The woman's eyes widened, taking in his worn clothes, the gun on his hip, and the dangerous stillness in his stance. I didn't mean the clothes. How much? They completed the transaction in silence. But as they left, Maria slipped her hand into his. Did you mean it? That I'm yours? If you'll have me. I'm not much of a father. Don't know anything about raising children. I don't know anything about having a father. We'll learn together. That night, camped under stars that seemed close enough to touch, Maria told him about her life before the Martinez gang. Her father's laugh, her mother's songs, the way her brothers would tease her but defend her fiercely against anyone else. "I miss them," she said simply. "You always will. But it gets easier to carry." "Does it?" He thought of his mother's face, faded now, but never forgotten. The pain becomes part of you, like a scar. It's there, but it doesn't rule you anymore. They reached Tombstone on the third day, the silver mining town sprawling in the desert like a half-built dream. The streets teemed with miners, gamblers, cowboys, and painted ladies. Maria's eyes went wide at the spectacle. Judge Morrison's office was above the bank, reached by an outside staircase. The judge himself was a small, neat man with intelligent eyes and a reputation for fair dealing. "Colt Ramirez," he said, rising from behind his desk. "I heard you died in Mexico. Disappointed?" "Relieved, actually. You saved my son's life once. I don't forget debts." His eyes moved to Maria. "And who is this?" "Maria Santos. I want to adopt her. Make it legal." Morrison's eyebrows rose. "You? Adopt a child? Is it possible or not?" The judge studied them both for a long moment. "It's possible. But there will be questions. Your past. I'll answer them. Does the child exist? Has she no family?" "They're dead," Maria said quietly. "Colt saved me. He's my family now." Morrison nodded slowly. "Very well. It will take a few days to prepare the papers. You'll need witnesses, character references. I'll vouch for him." They all turned. Doc Holliday stood in the doorway, looking even paler than when he'd left the ranch, but impeccably dressed. "Doc," Morrison said carefully, "I'm not sure your testimony would help." "What about mine?" A woman entered behind Doc Small, silver-haired, with a face that had once been beautiful and was now something better, kind. "Mrs. Morrison," Colt said, surprised. "Hello, Colt." She smiled. "Henry told me you were here. It's about time you came back to civilization. You know him?" The judge asked his wife. "Oh, yes. He brought our James home when those rustlers took him. He remained by our side for a week as James recuperated. He read to James and taught him how to whittle." She looked at Maria. "He'll be a wonderful father. I'd stake my reputation on it." The next days passed in a blur of legal procedures and preparations. Colt rented rooms at a respectable boarding house, bought Maria more clothes, and enrolled her in school. She took to it all with a mixture of excitement and trepidation. The night before the final hearing, they sat on the boarding house porch, watching the sun set over the desert. "Are you sure?" Maria asked suddenly. "Including me in this situation changes everything for you. Everything needs changing sometimes. But your life, your freedom. Freedom's just another word for nothing left to lose. And I'm tired of having nothing." She was quiet for a moment. "Then what should I call you?" He'd been wondering the same thing. "Choose a name that resonates with you." "Papa?" She tested the word carefully. Hearing the word Papa shattered a barrier he had constructed when he was 7 years old, which he believed he would never dismantle. Yes, he managed to speak despite his throat feeling tight. "That works." The hearing was simple. Judge Morrison asked questions Colt answered honestly. Colt provided honest answers to questions about his past, present, and future plans. Doc testified, coughing discreetly into his handkerchief. Mrs. Morrison spoke eloquently about second chances and the redemptive power of love. After signing and witnessing the papers, Maria officially became Maria Ramirez. They walked out into the bright Tombstone morning, father and daughter in the eyes of the law, and more importantly, in their hearts. "What now?" Maria asked. "Now we go home. Start teaching you to ride, to shoot, and to read." He paused. His goal was to surpass my own abilities. Rosa said something else. Maria said it as they walked toward the livery stable. She said the ring wasn't just a reminder of the past. It was a promise for the future. That's why she gave it to me. What kind of promise is it? That mercy creates mercy. That one act of kindness can echo through years, through lives. She touched the ring. Your mother's love continued to shield me for 30 years after her passing. They retrieved their wagon and began the journey back to the ranch. But Colt knew it wasn't really the same place anymore. It had been a hideout, a place to disappear. Now it would be a home. As they rode, Maria began to sing a Mexican lullaby her mother had taught her. The melody was different, but the rhythm was familiar. His mother had hummed something similar while working in their garden, back when the world was smaller and safer. The past still lingered, including the boy named Miguel, the outlaw named Colt, all the bloodshed, and the choices made between then and now. However, for the first time in 30 years, his past no longer defined him. He was a father now. Maria's father. And that was enough. The desert stretched endlessly before them, but it no longer looked empty. It looked like a possibility. "Papa?" Maria said as the ranch came into view. "Tell me about my grandmother." Esperanza was the woman who donned this ring. Colt smiled, remembering. Her name was Esperanza. It means hope. She came from Sonora, just like you. As he talked, sharing memories he'd kept locked away for decades, the ring caught the light. 3 turquoise stones, as bright as the desert sky, carried the past into the future. And in that moment, Colt Ramirez understood what Rosa Morales had known, that redemption isn't found in forgetting what we've done, but in choosing what we do next. The circle was complete. There was a mother's love, a child's need, and a quiet outlaw who had finally remembered how to be kind. In the distance, a hawk called, riding the thermals home. Years later, when Maria had children of her own, she would tell them this story. The story recounts the journey of a ring, forged through tragedy, to inspire hope. This story illustrates the transformation of a tough man into a gentle one. Sometimes, the family we choose surpasses the one we are born into. And always, always, she would end with this. Remember, we are not what we've done, but what we choose to do next. The ring would pass to her daughter and her daughter's daughter, each adding their story to its journey. But it began here in the Arizona desert, when a quiet outlaw gave shelter to a girl with burned feet and discovered that in saving her, he saved himself. This is the way of mercy. It returns to us, transformed but never diminished, bringing light to the darkest corners of the human heart. The end.